Hey there! Welcome back to Cooking with AJMR. I am your host, Chef AJMR, and in today's video, I will be showing you guys how to cook the third dish of my senior project, which is una sopa de sancocho. Now, this specific soup is very traditional to the Colombian culture. However, depending on the region of Colombia that you're making the sancocho, the ingredients that are used can be very different. Although I am proud to say that I have been eating this dish since a very young age in my life, but I won't be recreating my favorite version of this dish of sancocho, seeing as I will be adding more additional ingredients that I myself aren't really used to. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and move on to the ingredients section of this cooking tutorial video. Okay, the necessary ingredients that I will be using during this cooking tutorial video are as follows. First, we have carne de res, which is beef, potatoes, diced up pieces of cilantro and green onions, a singular plantain, 2 pieces of corn on the cob, yuca, garlic, caldo Maggi, colored condiment powder, and salt. So the number of ingredients that I will be using for this specific sancocho is actually good enough for at least 4 people to eat. So if you need to make una sopa de sancocho for more than 4 people, then you would probably need another piece of corn, more potatoes, maybe another piece of plantains, and just a little bit more of all the other ingredients that I am showing here. Once again, depending on the region in Colombia, the type of meat that is used for the sopa de sancocho can be switched around with, let's say, chicken or carne de cerdo, which is like pork, and any other kind of meat that you would like to try. It just depends on the person who's making the actual soup. But for today's cooking video, I will be using carne de res since that is what I'm most used to. Alright. Now that I've listed out all the ingredients that I will be using in this cooking tutorial video, let's start with the first step of making our sopa de sancocho. Okay, so the first step of making our sopa de sancocho is actually filling up our pressure cooker, which we're going to use throughout the entire cooking tutorial video. The first thing we're going to do is actually fill up the pressure cooker with water, and there's actually an indicator. It's kind of hard to see, but I'm going to not let the water go past that first indicator mark that's inside the pressure cooker, because once I add all of the ingredients together, the water level will rise up, and we definitely don't want the pressure cooker to be too full, or else it might be a tad dangerous, as some people say. So we're just going to let the water fill up just a little bit before that first indicator mark. Alright, that should be good. Once we've finished putting the water inside the pressure cooker, now all we'd have to do is just pour the pieces of carne de res inside the water. Okay, there we are. And then once we have all the pieces of carne de res inside the water, we can go ahead and take the pressure cooker over to the stove and actually turn on the stove and set it for the second highest temperature. Now that we have the pressure cooker with the water and pieces of carne de res ready to boil on the stove, we can go ahead and put the temperature near the second to highest temperature, so we can quickly start to boil the pieces in the pressure cooker. And while we wait, we are going to prepare the other ingredients, such as the potatoes and the plantains. Okay, so the next step of making our sopa de sancocho is actually cutting up a singular plantain into 4 different pieces. We're going to actually utilize the skills we learned from the first cooking tutorial video, which was with the patacones and guacamole and ahogado, by cutting up the plantain into pieces and also taking off the skin. So we can go ahead and start by cutting the plantain right down the middle. And then we can also start with the other pieces as well, like this. And do us a favor, let's just go ahead and cut off the points of the plantains. We're going to use that technique where we grab the knife, go down, and the same thing on the other side. And we're going to peel off the skin. Once we made the cut on both sides of the plantain pieces, and once we get the skin loose, we can either continue using a knife or we can use a much safer option, which is just using a spoon, which I will use once I finish right here. Now that we've loosened up all the sides of the plantain pieces using the knife, we can go ahead and start removing the actual skin using the spoon, as so. Okay, so now that we have removed the skin from all the 4 plantain pieces, we can now go ahead and add each of them into the pressure cooker on the stove with the pieces of carne de res that are already boiling. Okay, so with this little grabber tool, we can grab these plantain pieces and carefully drop the plantains inside the boiling water. You don't just want to drop them in like at a high distance off the air, because then hot water would splash everywhere. You would add the last plantain piece, and then we can move on to the next step of our cooking tutorial video, which is actually adding the Caldo Maggi as well as the colored condiment powder. Okay, so for our next step, we are going to grab some Caldo Maggi, and we're going to take 2 spoonfuls like this, and then just sprinkle it into the actual pressure cooker with all the other ingredients. We're going to take another spoonful, like such, and then once we've put the 2 spoonfuls of Caldo Maggi in the pressure cooker, we're now going to take a little bit of colored powdered condiment, somewhere around like this much, like maybe half a spoonful, sprinkle it in as well. And then once you've poured both the 2 spoonfuls of Caldo Maggi and the, I would say, half a spoonful of colored condiment powder, we would then start to mix all the ingredients together. And then once we are done with mixing the ingredients already in the pressure cooker, we would then start with peeling off the skin off the potatoes and then adding all the other ingredients. Okay, so the next step of our cooking tutorial video is actually taking our potatoes and peeling off the skin and then cutting them down the middle using a knife. So I'm just going to speed up the process of me peeling off the skin of the potatoes using this peeler. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so now that I have finished peeling the skin off of all 3 potatoes, we can now go ahead and properly wash them in the sink. And then once we have done that, we will cut them in half, and then we can also add these pieces of potato into the pressure cooker with the plantain pieces and the carne de res that is already boiling right now. Now that we have finished peeling off the skin off the potatoes and chopping them in half, we can now take the pieces of yuca, which are 2, as well as the 2 pieces of corn, and we will just properly wash them, seeing as they were in the freezer overnight. So we're just going to make sure that any ice on them from being in the freezer is taken off. There we are. And once you are done actually washing the pieces of corn and yuca, you can now go ahead and add them to the pressure cooker with the other ingredients as well. Okay, now that we have the pieces of corn, yuca, and potato pieces ready, we can go ahead and start adding them to the pressure cooker. Once again, making sure we don't just drop the ingredients in at a high altitude. Just carefully plop them in, seeing as the water is much higher than it was originally. So we won't have to stick our hand too far into the pressure cooker. Just go ahead and add those ingredients as such. And once you have finished adding those ingredients, you can add the finishing touches, which is adding some salt, a little bit of garlic, and the diced pieces of green onions and cilantro. Okay, so once again, we're gonna add just a little bit of garlic. I'd say, I don't know if this would be half a spoonful, but it's not a lot. It's just a little bit. We're gonna add it like so, like that. And then we can add a little bit of salt as well. I'm gonna sprinkle it on top as such. Like that. And then we'll just add the pieces of cilantro. Grab a few. And then the finishing touch, which is just adding the pieces of green onion. Once you have finished adding all of the ingredients, all we have to do now is put the top on the pressure cooker, and then our sopa de sancocho should be done. And once we have finished putting the top of the pressure cooker on, we're actually going to put this little thing on top. And once this little thing right here starts to like wobble up and down and stuff, meaning that like all the air in the pressure cooker is like really hot, we will actually turn down the intensity of the pressure cooker down from like the second to highest degree to down to a medium. That's all we'll have to do, and then we'll just have to wait for around 20 to 25 minutes. Okay, so it's been around 10-ish minutes. As you guys can see, the little top part is starting to sizzle left and right. So now all we have to do is turn down the intensity of the heat from like 8 or 7 all the way down to medium. And then we can also do this to the top, like that. It's letting out all the steam. Now that we're letting the steam cool off and we set the temperature down to medium, now we can wait around 20 minutes once again, and then that will be the end of our third cooking tutorial video, seeing as we finished another dish. Okay, so now it's been around 20 minutes. All we have to do is just turn off the stove, and now we're done. We just have to wait for the pressure cooker to cool off a little bit, and then, yeah, we're done. Alright, so we have successfully completed yet another cooking session where we have ended up with a delicious sopa de sancocho that consists of various ingredients that will make you want to ask for seconds. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this cooking tutorial video. Let me know down in the comment section if you guys are willing to consider making una sopa de sancocho using the steps that I provided. For our next cooking session, I will show you guys how to make arepas with eggs, cheese, and chorizo, which is a popular Colombian breakfast dish that is usually accompanied with coffee or a chocolate drink. I want to thank you guys again so much for being patient with me. waiting every month for a new cooking tutorial video. With all that being said, thank you guys so much again for watching this video. Like and subscribe if you like this kind of content, and I'll see you next year. Bye!